Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today I want to talk about the effects Judge Kavanaugh will have on the Second Amendment in California and in the United States. So let's get started. This video is brought to you by MSRarms.com. Quality and precision for the modern sporting rifle. Use them to complete your next build and save by using discount code TDS5 at checkout. Now, unless you live under a rock, I'm sure you're aware that Judge Brett Kavanaugh was recently sworn in as Justice Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court of the United States. And while that has major implications all the way across the country, I feel that it has even greater implications to those states that currently have laws that infringe on people's Second Amendment rights. Now, this is especially important to those freedom-loving people in anti-gun states, because typically what will happen is those people will file a lawsuit challenging some gun control law in their state. It will wind its way through the court systems and typically end up in the circuit court. And then once it's in the circuit court, if the people who filed the lawsuit don't get their way, they can then appeal to the Supreme Court. But over the past several years, the Supreme Court has not been hearing Second Amendment cases. I mean, even some very important Second Amendment cases like Peruta v. San Diego, which they kicked back down to the Ninth Circuit. Peruta v. San Diego was a concealed carry case that challenged a portion of that law that said that you have to have good cause, and good cause in this state basically means that your life has to be in danger at the moment you're filing the paperwork. But it was basically challenging the good cause law that would restrict a lot of people from getting their concealed carry permits in California. That was not heard by the Supreme Court, and I believe it's because there was either a weak majority or there was an undecided majority, and they didn't want to see Second Amendment cases, being that it would obviously affect the entire country, and so they were just kicking the decision back down to the lower courts. And this happened every single time a Second Amendment case would go up, it would get kicked back down. Now, with Justice Kavanaugh on the bench, that means that the conservatives actually do have a pretty strong majority in the Supreme Court. Now, while it's not a vast majority, there's not a big spread in the majority, I feel that it's a more solid pro-Second Amendment and conservative majority in the court. And because of that, I feel that there's going to be a little bit more confidence in going forward with these Second Amendment cases that will affect the entire country. So I feel that from this moment on, we have a better chance of actually being heard, at least, in the Supreme Court moving forward. Now, this is obviously very positive news for those people that live in states that are clearly infringing on your Second Amendment rights, like myself, who lives in the state of California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Illinois, Hawaii, and so forth. All of these lawsuits that are going to be headed up towards the Supreme Court have a higher likelihood of being heard, but not only do they have a higher likelihood of being heard, they have a higher likelihood of being adjudicated in our favor. So pro-Second Amendment, pro-constitutional conservatism. That's what we're looking for in the Supreme Court right now, and that's why I'm excited that he's up there. Does this guy have an absolute perfect stellar record? I don't think so, but when I was watching the confirmation hearing, I was very confident, or at least it raised my confidence in him when I heard him talk about AR-15s being in common use. Because as we know, that's kind of a rule of thumb when you're talking about whether or not, a firearm could be regulated, is it in common use? And he stated in his testimony that he believes that the AR-15 and semi-automatic rifles in general, he said, are in common use across the country. So that was a very refreshing thing to see. Now, interestingly enough, there is actually a case that I can point to right now that I am excited to watch, because there is a case that was recently adjudicated by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's Young versus Hawaii. This is an open carry case. So Mr. Young, who is a Hawaii resident, was denied both open carry and concealed carry in Hawaii. That, again, just went through the courts, ended up in the Ninth Circuit. A 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit decided that he has a constitutional right to open carry. Okay, so this affects the entire Ninth Circuit. But the Hawaii Attorney General decided that they were going to go en banc, or they would ask for en banc hearing, meaning that the entire Ninth Circuit is going to rehear the case and come up with a new decision. Now, if they rehear the case and it comes that they believe that he has a constitutional right to open carry, the Attorney General for Hawaii could then appeal to the Supreme Court. But if the Attorney General of Hawaii knows that a conservative majority sits on the Supreme Court, she may just let the Ninth Circuit ruling stand. Now, everybody else might say, well, how's that good for anybody else in all the other anti-gun states? Well, that's because if she lets it stand and that sits as a ruling in the Ninth Circuit, that has precedence. So basically all of the other cases that can make it up to the circuit courts across the country could then look at the decision made by the Ninth Circuit and say, we have precedent to believe that open carry, at least, is a constitutionally protected right. Now, if she does decide to take the Young versus Hawaii case all the way up to the Supreme Court, we have a little bit more confidence now knowing that we have a conservative up there, somebody who seems to be pro-Second Amendment, that hopefully will, A, accept the case and hopefully, again, find that it is a constitutionally protected right. So, again, you can see that there is implications that could be taking place very soon, and I point to Young versus Hawaii. Now, in an interesting piece of news, Justice Kavanaugh actually took the bench for the first time yesterday, and I heard that the first case that he took a look at was a Second Amendment related case. So the first case that he has the potential to hear is a Second Amendment related case, which is going to give us a little bit of insight into maybe his judgment in the future, because we'll be able to read his either positive opinion or his dissenting opinion on the case, and that'll give us a little bit of insight as we read that, to find out exactly what his motivations are, because I don't know the guy. I don't know if he plans on, doing something pro-Second Amendment or planning to make any major changes, but I do feel that major change is coming down the road, and so it's a little bit exciting right now, but I'm just trying to step back and watch it. I think it's very interesting stuff. Like I said, the Supreme Court affects the entire country, but it's the cases from individual states that end up there, so I'm curious to see how this all works out. Anyway, I think this is definitely a big positive for constitutional conservatism across the country, which is definitely going to affect states like California, New York, Massachusetts, and all the other anti-gun states that are out there. So anyway, keep your eyes on this one. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day. This video is brought to you by MSRarms.com. Quality and precision for the modern sporting rifle. Use them to complete your next build and save by using discount code TDS5 at checkout.